E āriki e te wairua a ka moe au. Kia rangatira koe, kia rangatira au. Ko au te tumu enoa, ko au te moana uri uri. I aka māara, I aka māara. Adopt the spirit of peace to dignify your soul. Thus I am dignified. I am the land, I am the wide ocean. Remember, remember. I recite poetry from the late Cook Islands poet Kauraka Kauraka, from his poem Akamaara, that describes the importance of remembering our origins and how empowering others empowers ourselves. We are bound. Anyway, I said I would write about the atua, what are sometimes called God sticks in English, but the story is sad. There is no way to take the narrative that doesn't end with my heart being broken over and over. So I go back to the website Digital Pacific, where I've been asked to choose one object to draw inspiration to create. I draw from a group that has always inspired me and driven me to be, do and create more, and search the site for Cook Islands Woman. There are hundreds of results. Half of them are images, faces that look blankly at me from across years, decades. I scan through the titles of hundreds of photographs. Two young Rarotongan women, 1903. Although the postcard caption says Native Bells, Rarotonga, kept in the Auckland libraries. Cook Islands Woman with Sylvester Lambert, also kept in the UC San Diego's Special Collections and Archives. 3 Woman Cook Islands, kept in the Museum of New Zealand, Te Papa Tongarewa. The search literally gives me what I asked for, although sometimes I question how far into womanhood some of these people are. For the most part, no further information is ever given on the woman in these photos. The image descriptions usually give more detail on the photographer, but I wade through them anyway. At first I'm bemused, and then I'm bored, and then I start to question, is this all we are to you? Invisible lens holder pointing your camera at us. Are we not worth naming? In the words of Cook Islands poet Audrey Brown, do we not tell a story of a somebody and a somewhere that someone still loves? Digital Pacific reveals that the images, words, crafts and likenesses of hundreds of Cook Islands women are stored by 20 organisations across New Zealand, the United States and Australia. There's something about these objects that make me feel lost, that there's no compass to guide my searching. So I turn to one of the project organisers, Taputu. When we meet, we go through the Cook Islands custom of discussing our ties. What's your last name? What about your mum? Who were her parents? And what are their names? Where did they live? This series of questions is common among Cook Islands people, although I see now that they may seem almost invasive to the unaccustomed. This line of questioning derives from a cultural practice called papaanga, which is often simply translated into English as genealogizing. However, akapapaanga ara tangata represents a significant cultural practice for Cook Islanders. In formal settings, being able to recite genealogies gives one authority to speak for groups and provide expertise in subject areas. In informal settings, such as my conversation with Taputu, a knowledge of akapapaanga enables people to articulate shared connections over space and time. Taputu quickly realizes that we share a relative, her grandfather being my great-grandfather. I tell my newly discovered Auntie Taputu about the challenges I'm facing with this project. I feel discouraged and dehumanized when looking at these objects. and I can't pick one object without feeling I am betraying something somehow. She gives me an answer by asking a question. Have you looked for us? So I return to the site and enter masters. The name Taputsu and I are both tied to. One of the first results shows a photo of my mama Ere, my grandmother's first cousin who was raised as her sister, who then later raised my father through his teens. The entry is an oral history, and the photograph shows my auntie in her 80s at the time, standing at the dining room table, her hand resting on a notebook, and on the wall behind her, photographs of all the people she loves. Her expression suggests that she was about to say something. I scroll down the page and there is a comment titled Cousin. It's Taputsu's mother, explaining her ties. This is my first cousin Ere Masters. Her father and my father were brothers. Her dad is Ned Masters, the youngest brother of my father Carl Masters. I know our uncle Te Araya was also a tailor. Maybe she learnt from him before she came to New Zealand. She has just celebrated her 90th birthday in Auckland. Happy birthday, Ere. I went to that celebration in Auckland. Te Araya, the brother the uncle mentioned, was my grandfather. And this is what the potential of metadata is. To articulate connections, to provide restorative akapapa'anga to images and objects that arguably have removed the humanity from the people they represent. In this small corner of the internet, I find my people and my ties and names I know. The story of a somebody and a somewhere I still love. My favourite part of the interview is when Mama is describing her first work experiences in New Zealand. And I remember one day the forelady was saying to me,
she saw the other machinists was watching me sewing, because I was just going for my life.
Right.
As much I could, I need the money. And she said to me, don't take any notice of anybody, she said. This is the forelady. Just go for your life and make as much as you can make. I said, yeah, well, I need the money. I had to work.
And I love this part because this is so typical of our wa'ine. You don't need to tell us twice to get it done. Mama Ere eventually started her own tailoring business and brought her own home in what would become one of the most expensive suburbs in New Zealand. Her sister, my grandmother, was also a hard worker, a talented tailor who spoke several languages including English, French, Cook Islands Māori and Tahitian. Her hair was waist length and she had 2 deep furrows on her brow, which made her look furious when she was deep in thought, a physical trait and mannerism I have inherited. An audio of my Mama Ere describing her early work experiences in Auckland is not a common representation of the Masters family. We are a large family who were bestowed our surname from our shared ancestor William Masters, a man born in England who settled on a small atoll on the Cook Islands called Palmerston in 1863. He lived there with 3 women from Tongareva, also known as Penrhyn in the northern Cook Islands. He eventually had 23 children between these women. Although my Auntie Maureen has researched extensively on these women, for through them we inherit our Māori identity, very little is known of them. But the figure of William Masters has proven popular in the Western imaginary of the Pacific. He represents a figure that lives up to the fantasy from the global north, leaving a dreary life behind for a great tropical adventure. My search on Digital Pacific results in this copy of PIM, the Pacific Islands Monthly from 1946. The title reads Masters Clan, Palmerston's romantic history recalled by the death of William Masters II. It reads, the original William Masters was a native of Birmingham, England. He left home at the age of 18 to go to sea. After a number of voyages, he went to California and took part in the 1849 gold rush. After California, Masters once more took to the sea and roamed far and wide over the Pacific. In 1860, he was sent on a schooner to uninhabited Palmerston Atoll with a small working party of Penrhyn Islanders, among whom were some women. In the ensuing years, he reared a large family by this legal wife, and also by 2 other women who had remained with him. The family, of course, is Euronesian, half European and half Polynesian. The 2 Williams trained this large family to be industrious and respectful to their elders. From an early age, both boys and girls have to do their share in the communal work. Palmerston girls, while possessing the good looks usual in Euronesians, are noted for their physical strength resulting from their early training in manual labour. The women become skilled in the art of weaving and make the finest hats in the Cook Islands. This article amuses me because I have never considered William the reason why our women are strong, resourceful and skilled. Our wa'ine would have brought all their skills for life on an atoll from Tongareva with them. They had the weaving skills, the values of respect and resilience, and these women passed these on to their children. Like Mama Te Paul and her daughter weaving pandanus mats in the family sleeping house. When wa'ine Māori look at these photographs, they can pick out the weight that holds down the mat and imagine the coarse texture Mama Te Pao handles. And yet, these women still had time to create objects of beauty, like Mama Ann weaving rito in this photograph. As opposed to the work of Mama Te Pao, the rito that Mama Ann works with is soft and fine. Both women are immersed in their work, as they've done it so often that their fingers now intrinsically follow the mathematical pathways of the weave. I imagine William Masters was often grateful for the hundreds of ways our woman could work with the coconut tree. So now I come to my decision, the one object I choose, and it's this. I choose rito, coconut leaf fibre, this object. Arguably not the most glamorous object, not the object that would stop someone in their tracks in the gallery space. Just rolls of coconut fibre. They look so ordinary and crude. But for wa'ine Māori, so full of potential. Because rito can be made into tā'iri, for calling ourselves during formal occasions, but also a sign of wisdom and peace when held by chiefs or orators. Rito can be made into hats, our pare, to adorn our heads, the most sacred part of our body. I choose rito. Rito plucked from the heart of a coconut tree, our tree of life. The tree our people search for when in times of famine, to eat the flesh of the coconut and drink its water. The coconut providing oil and cream and food. The coconut husks providing fuel for our fires. The coconut palm leaves providing roofing for our homes, baskets to contain our food and belongings, and mats to sleep on. The coconut trunks, shaped into waka for travel and fishing. All these uses that our people have learnt over several lifetimes while dwelling in Te Moana Nui a Kiwa, the Pacific Ocean. Palms that are used for mats, baskets and roofing are easily sourced from short coconut trees, but the rito is different. Someone needs to climb up to the top of a grown palm and cut the youngest centre shoot. The rito is the centre, the softest, the greenest shoot. I choose rito. Strands of rito rendered by the soft hands of wa'ine Māori, hands that feed, protect, caress and love. Rito that is woven, bound, and bound again into treasured objects, bound into the shape of this pare that adorns my head on the most special of moments. that tells people that they look upon wa'ine Māori with a spine held straight by the generations of wa'ine Māori that precede her. I choose rito. I choose the long strands of coconut leaf fibre that bind these objects to me and me to these objects, and these objects to wa'ine Māori and wa'ine Māori to me. And it is my hope that someday my mokopuna can choose rito too. Rito and display in museums with their multiple ties and bonds extending out from it as my mokopuna walk around it. My mokopuna able to see how rito is bound to wa'ine Māori who weave with it, bound to the coconut tree, bound to the land and to the Pacific Ocean. Rito contextualized among the wa'ine who have handled it, women with names, lands of origin, and people who love them. Rito found on digital spaces as conduits to connect to other places, people, and objects, celebrating the skills and resourcefulness of our wa'ine Māori who bind with rito and are bound to other women and to our bound futurities. Rito as an expression of akapapa'anga ara tangata. I am wa'ine Māori and I choose rito. I close with the words of kauraka kauraka, this time in the Manihiki dialect of the north near Tongareva, the ancestral home of my aunties, grandmothers and ancestors. Ka whukiau ki he waiki nui, te ngahi haunga reka. Tei reira nā tiare umaria mai kore. Tei reira te wharekare oi mataora tikai. Tei reira te vai puhi puhi o te ora. Oh, te tiaki o mai rā paharātou. E te au mohi I aku me rere atu au. Return I must to Hawaii Nui, my paradise, where the eternal flowers bloom, where the greatest house of pleasure stands, where the spring of life bubbles endlessly. Oh, perhaps they are waiting anxiously to welcome me when I fly there soon.